All right, we're going to look at evaluating functions with squares and square roots. So one thing people get kind of confused at is squares. So like, you'll see it as something squared looks like that, and the square root looks like that, and they are related to each other. So basically, if I square a number, okay, like 4 squared, what that means is take the number, multiply it by itself, okay, and it gets you 16. A square root is the opposite direction, okay, where you would see it as, okay, what they're asking you is what number times itself gets you to 16, and the answer is 4. So you're just kind of going in opposite directions. So people tend to make mistakes here, so let's just look at some functions here. So if I said f of x equals x squared plus x when x equals 5, okay. So all I'm going to do is plug in and do substitution for the 5 into here. So what I'm going to get here is f of 5 is going to be 5 squared plus 5. Then I follow my order of operations. So what this means is just take this and multiply it by itself. 5 times 5 is 25 plus 5, and the answer is 30. Okay. F of x when x squared equals 4x plus 1, and when x equals 3. Okay. So what I'll do here is I'll go ahead and plug this in. F of 3 equals 3 squared minus 4 times 3 plus 1. That equals 9 minus 12 plus 1. Alright, so 3 times 3 is 9. A negative 4 times a positive 3. And then combining like terms right here. So this is negative 3 plus 1, and that's negative 2. So where do most of the problems occur is when people have negatives. So if I gave you something like f of x equals x squared plus 4x when x equals negative 3 now. Okay. So we get f of negative 3. So you're only replacing the x. So the parentheses go around it. Okay. So this right here, with this that negative 3 squared is the same as negative 3 times a negative 3. So that's going to come out to positive 9, and a positive times a negative, and that's negative 3. Okay. So go. F of x equals negative 2. Sorry, write it like this. X squared minus 5x plus 3, and x equals negative 6. Okay. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and substitute. I'm going to kind of write this a little bit differently here. So I'm going to sub something in right there, right? So it's going to be a negative 6 and a negative 6. And I get negative 2 times 36, because this is negative 6 times negative 6, a negative 5 and a negative 6. And this is a negative 2 times a positive 36. It's negative 72 plus 30 plus 3. Be negative 42. So that gives me negative 39. Simply substitution and order of operations. Okay. Now, going the other direction with a function with a square root in it, you might see something like f of x equals the square root of x plus 10 when x equals 25. Okay. So now I'll put this in here, f of 25. And so what this is asking me, what times itself, what number times the exact same number gets me to 25, And that's 5 times 5 gets me to 25, plus 10 equals 15. Okay. Looking at another one, f of x equals 11 minus the square root of x when x equals 16. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and plug this one in. F of 16 is equal to 11 minus the square root of 16. Okay. So what times itself gets me to 16? Okay, so that's 4 times 4, right? So what this equals is minus this turns into a 4. Then I subtract these, and I get 7. All right, negative 36. So when I do this, okay, when I look at this one, okay, and I ask myself, what times itself gets me to negative 36? And the answer to this one is no solution, or it's undefined. Okay. And what the issue is this, and people get really confused by this. So the question is, can I get two identical numbers to multiply to 36 negative? So a positive 6 times a positive 6 is a 36. A negative 6 times a negative 6 gets me to positive 36, because a negative times a negative is a positive. So I can get to 36 if I do 6 times negative 6, but those are not identical numbers, so it's not a square root.